from Educational Roots, and it has been a long time since I did a curriculum flip through and review, but now is the time. I thought I would go ahead and review God's Design for Life from Master Books for you. This is the digital version, but I do have the actual physical copy as well. We are using this curriculum in my school for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I thought it would be good to show you kind of some things about this curriculum and give you my honest review of it and let you know if I will be utilizing this again in the future in my school. So if that interests you, stick around. Okay, so God's Design for Life is 3 books put into one. These books were originally created by Answers in Genesis. And as you guys may know, Answers in Genesis and Master Books are kind of like sisters in a sense. Master Books has taken over a lot of the curriculum of Answers in Genesis. And so Answers in Genesis originally published these 3 books separately: The World of Plants, The Human Body, and The World of Animals. And Master Books has put them all into one course. So it is kind of nice that you do have a complete life science course, and it comes in 2 different books: the textbook, which is this one, and then the teacher guide, which is this one. Now, I always find it confusing how Master Books calls the student worksheets the teacher guide. I feel like this should be called the student workbook or something, but because it does include the answer key, I guess that's why they call it the teacher guide. I don't know. But nevertheless, if you want the actual worksheets to go along with the curriculum, you do need this teacher guide. So that's just the way Master Books does it in all their curriculum. They just call the teacher guides the worksheets, they call the worksheets the teacher guides. Anyway, so this course is designed for 3rd through 8th grade. It does give you a schedule. It does have quizzes and tests. It does have an answer key. So let's get started. First, I'll just show you kind of what a couple lessons look like, and then I'll give you my actual thoughts on it. So here is the cover of the book. And of course, it gives you a table of contents, which includes all of the units. So of course, in the first book, it's plants. So I'll scroll through this so you can see the different units. And then body. And then animals. So as you might have noticed, there are 35 lessons per book, and you can definitely do a lesson in a day very, very easily. The lessons are very, very short. Okay, and then it kind of explains how you can utilize this book for 3rd through 5th graders or 6th through 8th graders. So the 6th through 8th graders basically do an additional challenge section, which includes reading, and it also includes additional questions on their worksheet. And on the test, there is a challenge section that those older middle school kids would do as well. All right, and then we get into the actual lessons. And so we've got our unit 1 here, and then we have lesson 1. And the lessons all kind of look the same, where they have the words to know, challenge words, and then they have some reading to do. And then they have these what did we learn questions. These are on the worksheets. And then we have taking it further, and the taking it further is usually some sort of hands-on activity. And then we have the experiment or activity here. And this section is what the 6th through 8th graders would read. So it's not a lot more reading, it's just a little more reading. So let me give you a couple of more examples, I guess. So we've got lesson 2 here. And we've got a game. What do we learn? Taking it further. And then, of course, what the 6th through 8th graders would read in this green here. And so it's kind of nice that it's color-coded so you can know. So that is what that looks like. And I should mention that it has these special features of these biographies of famous scientists and different things as you go. So those are neat. Okay, so that is kind of what this looks like. I'm just going through very, very, very quickly. And I'm actually going to stop at a specific lesson so that I can give you my review and kind of use an example in a specific lesson of my review. Okay, so I'm going to stop here at lesson 32, but let's jump over to the teacher guide now. So I will show you in the teacher guide. Okay, let me actually stop here. So it tells you the table of contents of the teacher guide, and the answer keys do come at the back. There's also a master supply list, which I found very helpful. And then I do recommend that you read these beginning pages because it does do a great job of explaining how to teach and what the curriculum is designed for, and it talks about creation versus evolution and the 7 C's of history. If you're not familiar with that, the 7 C's of history is an answers in Genesis thing, but it really helps explain the gospel. And then it does have this schedule. Now, as you can see, it will have these special features like on a whole separate day, but the special features are usually 2 pages long and you don't need a whole day for them. So we would just include them in whatever lesson we were reading. And as you can see, any quizzes or tests are in bold, so you can see where those are. And if you want to keep track of grades or due dates, you can do that. And then it has the worksheet. So these are the worksheets for the plants book that I was just showing you. And so just like it had in that lesson 1, what did we learn? Now you have the space to write it out. But also on these worksheets, it does give you a supply list. It tells you the activities. It tells you the challenge, has the questions, has taken it further if you'd like to do that. And then it has any worksheets that you would need to complete the activities. So for example, to the scavenger hunt, it has the worksheet here already created for you, so you don't have to do that yourself. So let me show you that. And typically there's usually 3 questions. Taking it further might have another couple questions. This one has 5 taking it further questions. But in total, I don't think that there's really ever more than 10 questions, and usually it's around 5 total to be, I would say the average would be about 5 questions total. All right, now let me give you my review. So the things I really like about this curriculum is the hands-on projects. It has, some sort of hands-on activity really for every lesson. And so that is fantastic. I have found that the projects are easy to implement. They are easy to get the supplies for, and they've worked. Sometimes your science projects or experiments don't work. These do. I wouldn't say these are experiments. They are more projects to kind of make that concept come to life. So that is my pro for this. Also, the lessons are extremely short, as you can see. Now, that could be a pro or a con. And I think sometimes it's a pro and sometimes it's a con. I do think that for the middle school grades, that it's not quite enough. I think in comparison to other curricula for middle school, such as, Abeka or BJU Press or things like that, that this curriculum is a little bit on the easier side, but that is because it is designed for 3rd through 8th grade. And so, take that, for what it's worth. But the thing that I actually don't like about this curriculum is the questions. So this lesson is about mosses, It is extremely short, and the questions that it asks in this lesson are not found in the lesson. And this happens very frequently. It wants you to kind of infer things, and it wants you to like take your understanding from previous lessons and apply it to this area, this lesson, which is great. It's great to have those higher order thinking skills, but for the younger students, they have trouble with that. And so, for example, how do mosses produce food? It doesn't say that anywhere in this lesson, and I will pause here so you can read this lesson if you'd like. And then there. It doesn't say that. Now, you are supposed to infer that because moss is a plant, that it's going to produce food from photosynthesis. But again, it doesn't really tell you that or explain that. It just kind of leaves you to kind of figure out what they're wanting. The same thing about how do mosses differ from seed-bearing plants and how do mosses differ from ferns. Seed-bearing plants and ferns were in previous lessons, so it wants you to take what you've learned in previous lessons and expand upon it. Now, some of you may absolutely love that. It may be perfectly suited for you. However, I have found at my school that it actually frustrates the teachers and confuses the students because they are typically, looking in the lesson and the answer is not there. Now, this is a very, very simple example. However, this happens constantly. And so, even if they were just to rephrase this, like using your knowledge of seed-bearing plants, how do mosses differ, or something like that? Like, I just maybe making it even more clear that you are supposed to think back or look back onto those past lessons. That might help. Of course, I do love critical thinking. I'm not saying that I don't, but I just find that, and again, this is just a really, really little easy example, but I have found that this is pretty constant, where the answers are not in the lesson. So maybe you'll love that and it'll be perfect for you. But that is something that my teachers have found frustrating. So anyway, all of that being said, we will not be using this curriculum again in the future. We are going to finish it out for this school year, but I will not be using it again in the future. Since I do have a Christian school, I do want a little bit more differentiation between the grade levels and what they are learning and the level of difficulty. However, in a homeschool situation where you do have a bunch of kids, across several grade levels, this is definitely good for that. And I think, like I said, it has a lot of good components, of course, with the biblical integration and the hands-on activities and the short lessons. Those are all things that homeschool families are really, really going to appreciate. It is colorful. The format of it is easy to understand. It is easy to, like I said, do the projects and all of that. So overall, I think this will be a good fit for many, many families. However, for my school, for my students, for my teachers, in the future, we won't be using it again, but I think it will be a good fit for many, many families. So I hope that is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions, and I hope that you're having a blessed day. All right, talk to you soon.